Well, howdy, stranger.
You John Wayne or something?
No, it's just that I don't think I've seen you for like 5 minutes in the past week.
It's been awesome.
Wow.
Really, BB Nate? Is that how you're going to play this?
Yeah.
It's all right. I know you miss me. It's okay.
Yeah, he's like a stormtrooper. He's missing you so badly.
Wow.
Come on.
That's all you got?
That was good.
At least you didn't
Stormtrooper jokes
All right.
are
At least you
pretty
didn't
low.
telegraph it.
I didn't.
That's true.
Yeah. We'll explain what the heck we're talking about after these ads specifically chosen for you by... I don't know. I don't have any clue who's choosing them. This is Tatooine Sons.
A Chuta, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and
Come on.
Firefly fan.
Ooh. Oh, BB Nate's got a Joss Whedon. He's like having a reaction over here. All right.
Calm down.
Yeah, anyway.
It's all right. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you love the show and you want some really cool pop culture merch, go to our TeePublic link in the show notes. Browse our selection of non-Firefly merchandise, but we got pretty much everything else.
I don't even know if TeePublic has Firefly merch.
I guarantee you someone made something on there. There's a big cult following.
Yeah, anyway.
But what's cool is if you use our link, anything you purchase on our store, 100% of the proceeds will go to help a child living in poverty through One Child. So you get some cool merch and you get to help a kid along the way. It's a win-win. Just do it.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was
Physics is a good teacher, but this is the one with the Nobel Prize winning professor.
He's very smart, and that's the problem. He talks very quickly, and he doesn't dumb stuff down for us stupid college kids. So
You'll just have to figure it out. Welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of this generation and that there is a story written on our souls, that these myths speak to that story, and that is why we talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and other movies and a bunch of other stuff that we talk about. I am David.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Daddy.
I am the daddy. All right.
wow, that's
Daddy.
well.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
That was cool. I am joined by a couple.
Change it up.
There we go. I'm joined by a couple of really amazing sons. Sam, how you doing today?
I'm busy, but I'm good.
All right, awesome. What are you talking about? What if?
What if episode 3? This one was
Interesting.
weird.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I went off the rails. In a good way. BB Nate.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about a lot of things.
What's the big thing you're talking about?
Candyman's coming out this
No,
weekend.
that's not the big thing that you're talking about.
The Spider-Man trailer.
Spider-Man,
Spider-Man,
No
that's the thing,
Way
isn't it?
Home trailer.
Eh.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And we've gotten a sneak peek of Matrix 4 Resurrections. We've read about it.
We have read
I got
about
the title, though.
We got the title, and we read
Hey,
about a description of the trailer that they showed us.
Yeah, I probably should.
Nathan kind of mentioned that.
Looks
And
good.
the
It sounds
Batman.
good.
They talked about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
not
there.
much. Apparently, people saw Pennyworth. Well, Andy Serkis as Pennyworth. which
Yeah,
is
very cool. Yeah,
cool.
So,
What are you talking about, Dad?
Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, the making of the season 2 finale. I think that's
still
the
haven't
actual
seen that
technical
one.
title. No,
It is. It's
Yeah,
Very long title.
yeah, it was fantastic.
I still need to watch that.
Yeah, explain why you haven't seen it.
Because I have been doing full-time college, and I've been very
17
busy.
credit hours.
It is get up, go to school, stay pretty much all day, come home. Whatever time I have is filled with homework. I sleep, and I do it all again.
So the people that have gone to regular school their entire lives are just sitting there like, what do you care? I mean, what are you complaining about? This is our daily
yeah,
life.
that's true. I'm homeschooled though. I haven't had to do this, but
Yeah.
it's a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm keeping up with it so far.
So what are your classes? Explain really quickly which classes you're taking.
Okay. I got statics, which is like the study of non-moving objects. It sounds really boring. Physics 2, which is really complicated. It's all about
with a
electrical
Nobel
stuff.
Prize winning professor.
Yes.
Awesome.
Calculus 3, which I haven't even done any calculus yet with it. Linear algebra, which feels more like solving Sudoku than an actual math class, which I'm not complaining.
That's kind of cool.
Engineering graphics, which is drawing, which
You're terrible at.
I'm not great at, but I'm doing okay for now.
Cool.
And then I feel like I have one more. Am I missing one?
I don't think so.
I think that was all 5.
Yeah.
Was that 5?
Yeah, I think
okay.
that was it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
Ooh. Linear algebra is kind of fun.
Okay.
That was was that one you were worrying about?
Not particularly.
No, not really.
Nate, what you been reading?
Well,
You've been doing comics, right?
I have, yeah.
A lot of comics lately.
Of course.
What's your
I
favorite?
finished Invincible.
Well, we already talked about that last week.
Yes, it was good.
Yeah.
Did you read that Oblivion song?
I did.
How was that?
It was good. Yeah.
What else are you reading? You read Doomsday something?
Doomsday Clock. I finished that again. I reread it.
Is it like the?
It's not a compendium. It's
Is
just
it
a collection. It was a
omnibus, a
12-issue graphic novel. It was good. And
What's the new series you were thinking about starting?
well, the guy who did Invincible said that this is a superhero series for people who are missing Invincible.
Oh, wow. What's it called?
It's called Radiant Black.
Oh, I've been seeing a lot about that.
And I'm
not
like,
heard
it's
of it.
$8 for the first volume. I'm like,
We're gonna figure that out because I've heard
Cool.
that's really good.
It's like
Radiant Black?
yeah,
yeah,
It's
that's
like
by,
it's
this is by Image Comics.
Give me
too.
the log line.
Power Rangers mixed with Invincible.
Ooh, I like
That's
that.
the way you can
All
do it.
Yeah,
That sounds cool.
That's cool. Well, we're gonna jump right into the show. There's a lot to talk about today. The first thing that most people think of when they hear the word Star Wars is
Droids.
okay. Luke Skywalker. Last December, fans were giving something that they never believed they'd have a chance to see. They got to see Luke Skywalker at his greatest or his peak. The season 2 finale of The Mandalorian brought grown men to tears. And this week, Disney gave us a glimpse behind the curtain to see how that epic moment came about.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Luke Skywalker in the finale of season 2. Who would you?
I'm gonna let Samuel the Hutt answer this one.
Ooh, interesting question. My knee-jerk response would be Boba Fett, but he's already in there. So, we already got Ahsoka. Ezra.
Yeah, I think that's what you would have said.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that when this episode came out.
What about you, Dad?
I don't think
I'm
you can.
interested to hear that.
I don't think you can do that. Let's talk about this.
It's just wrong.
You know, this is it's funny how much nostalgia you can get watching a documentary about the making of a TV show. But there was a lot for me watching it that just was really cool. Now, Samuel the Hutt, you have not had a chance to watch this yet.
But interestingly, when I was at Savannah's for her birthday, her grandparents put on the last 2 episodes of season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I kind of got to see the episode.
This girl's a keeper if her grandparents are watching the Mandalorian reruns.
They were also watching Lois and
Clark.
Wow.
Yeah, they were watching that.
That is a throwback.
No, the new one.
The new one?
Superman and Lois.
That's
oh, okay. Because
they were
Lois and
watching that.
Clark
Right.
was a TV show.
Okay, yeah, that was Dean
Anyway, sorry.
Cain. That was like in the 90s.
It was weird.
Yeah, and
Sorry. Anyway, yes, I saw the episode
Terry
recently,
Hatcher,
but
I
not
think was her
the
name.
documentary.
Nate, what'd you think about that
I enjoyed
episode?
it. It was really cool just to hear about everything that they were doing and how they figured it out. It felt kind of like Luke Skywalker, the episode, more than making the last that's what it was. It wasn't making season 2 finale. It was Luke Skywalker.
Well, that was the big.
It was, but I kind of like to see the other stuff that they did. But it was really interesting to see everything that they were talking about and just kind of how it impacted so many people. And also, the code name for Luke Skywalker that they kept saying, it was actually in the script and everything on set.
we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I didn't know.
Why are you stepping on my show notes,
I'm not.
bro? Okay. So I want to give a shout out. Well, before we do that, Samuel the Hutt. It's been almost 9 months since that episode came out.
It's been that long? Dang.
Thoughts on that episode now that you've had a chance to kind of let it set for a while?
I think it's a good episode. I mean, I guess my thoughts really haven't changed on it much. As I was watching it, you know, my thoughts as to where they can go from here is about the same. Nothing's really changed.
What about the Luke Skywalker part of it?
Right.
What are your thoughts
No,
on that?
I think it was a cool scene, and I don't know if I mentioned this 9 months ago, but you know, when he's in the hallway, it really mirrors Darth Vader from Rogue One,
It
but
sure does.
in a light side way. And I think that's a cool like mirror there.
They didn't mention that on the show, on the Disney Gallery of the Mandalorian.
But I mean, they had to have been cross-referencing it with Rogue One because it was very similar. A lot of the moves he did.
Well, it's interesting because in Rogue One, you see Darth Vader at his greatest moment.
Yeah,
right?
but it's evil.
It is evil. In this one, they were intentionally trying to show what Luke Skywalker would be at the height of his Jedi powers. And so it's very similar on that. I want to give a shout out to Rhett Wilkinson. He wrote a great little 40 bullet point recap of this episode on the #show.com. And I pulled from it, and we'll put it in the show notes so you guys can link to it. It was fantastic. Just really short little bullets of everything that they covered. And when somebody does that, and it makes my life so much easier when I'm putting together show notes, I just wanted to give him a shout out on that. First thing we should talk about is kind of the secrecy, BB Nate, that was behind all of this. There was this conversation about, you were talking about it. They hid this character under a different name. Samuel Hutt may not know this yet. Have you heard any about this?
I have not.
So go for it and explain.
So the basically on set, after even they filmed the episode,
while they're filming
it, the script, everything had a different name for Luke Skywalker in it, and that name was actually Plo Koon. And they even drew up visual effects stuff for Plo Koon,
so that's
and
like
concept
if
art,
leaks
and everything. If leaks happened, they could cover it. But I was sitting there, and I'm like, I kind of would have preferred that.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Now, it's funny because it was kind of the name no one was able to say.
Yeah.
And Richard Bluff, who's a visual effects supervisor for ILM, said that even after they finished filming all the scenes, it was kind of done, right? And I think after the series was out. With it, the episode had released and everything, they still were like afraid to say the words Luke Skywalker when they talked about this episode. They kept trying to use the code names to refer to him.
That's funny.
Sam, do you have any clue? Going into this episode, did you have any clue that Luke Skywalker was going to be appearing in that episode?
No clue whatsoever. I mean, there were a lot of I think rumors and stuff, but I was completely surprised when that. I mean, once the X-wing pulled up, I was like, oh, that's Luke. But I mean, up till that point, I had no clue.
Was that when you realized it was Luke as well, BB Nate, or did it take you a little bit longer?
I realized it was Luke, but I was hoping it wasn't. I'm like, it better be Ezra. It wasn't.
He commandeered an X-wing.
Hey, you never know.
It's funny because I think we talked about this 9 months ago. We talked about it a couple of times, but for, you, BB Nate, Ezra is your Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
He's the one that brought he's the Jedi you grew up with, and all this, and you see that green lightsaber, you're kind of hoping, that
it could still work.
Exactly. And, but this episode was really, it was a Christmas present to original trilogy.
It was.
With it. And so, it was fun to see the behind the scenes, on that. You talked about it, with Plo Koon. It's interesting. There's kind of a Clone Wars connection there now, because of Plo Koon. Dave Filoni said that the reason that he used, Plo Koon was because all the fans that really know him, like the geeks that would leak this kind of stuff and everything, would not be surprised that it would be Plo Koon, because they would connect it with Dave Filoni, because that's Dave Filoni's favorite Jedi, or of that. And so, they even put a digital Plo Koon head over Skywalker's, in images of stuff on set, and they had concept art created, for this with Plo Koon. That if it got leaked, then it would just kind of drive people down that Plo Koon path. They went all the way in.
Maybe that's what they're doing with No Way Home and Andrew Garfield and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Why do you think that there are some, BB Nate, you can maybe talk about this. Why do you think that people kind of think that this would have been better?
I don't know. I mean, it just kind of seems like everything revolves around the Skywalkers. I mean, Star Wars is a bigger galaxy than that, and it goes to the whole it's a small galaxy thing that was being talked about in Bad Batch. But I really think that it would appeal more to Clone Wars and Rebels fans if they went with this path. But people like Mom would know who Plo Koon would be.
It's true.
People like Savannah would know who Plo Koon is.
Yeah, she would. She's a huge Clone Wars fan, and so...
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is kind of what you said. Luke appeals to the original trilogy fans. Ezra kind of appeals to Nathan's age and my age, while Plo Koon, would appeal more towards the
Clone Wars prequel
era people. It's just dependent on what era you're from, really.
There was this moment that they talked about, Richard Bluff, who was the same one that I was talking about earlier, from ILM. He was talking, he's one of the main, talking heads, I guess, on the show this week. He said that when they were in editing, of the scene there with Luke Skywalker at the end, that 6 out of the 7 people had tears in their eyes while they were watching Skywalker appear. And then it clicked. It hit him as the guy that's going to have to lead this team, that they had to go in and change Skywalker's face, and they couldn't blow it. They couldn't screw it up. How big of a deal was it to get that right?
It is a very big deal. And I feel like for what it was fine, but there were complications with it, and it doesn't look as good as it could, as we've seen with the guy who was hired with Lucasfilm that did the deep fake.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's no clue from Tron Legacy.
No. Okay, that was good for its time, though. But it was interesting to hear. You could tell he was actually terrified in that moment, because this is a big deal. You already brought Luke Skywalker into this. You can't go back now. So you have to figure out how to do this. And that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that being a really stressful thing. It's like, all right, you've got the main character of all of Star Wars.
One of the most iconic characters in all of movie history. Top 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You say Luke Skywalker, people know who you're talking about. You got it. All right, great. Make him look young again. No pressure. Like, this is the big reveal of this season. Yeah. No pressure.
Right.
Everybody's going to be talking about this.
Well, let's talk about Mark Hamill at this, and just kind of bringing in Luke Skywalker in this. They went to, it looks, from my understanding, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, BB Nate, but Favreau and Filoni got in a car.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And drove up to Mark Hamill's house to talk to him
with
about
the script and this costume and Grogu in hand, and just drove up there.
They drove up there, and they talked to him about it, and he went into his study and read the script while they're hanging out with his wife in the living room, kind of waiting for this to happen. With it, there's this anticipation of this. Now, of course, Mark said yes. His quote in this was, if they want me to do this, how can I say no? But he actually thought if they were ever going to bring back Luke Skywalker at this era of the Star Wars story, this time in the Star Wars story, that they were going to have to bring back a younger person to play the character, kind of like the
Sebastian Stan
and stuff. Yeah, that kind of thing. But then he was told by Favreau that the character would be de-aged, and like in the MCU movies, like in Ant-Man and stuff, and which is interesting because Peyton Reed is the director of this, and he directed Ant-Man, and so
and Ant-Man and Wasp,
exactly.
Both,
so
yeah.
They've done this. Do you think there was ever a doubt that Mark would say yes?
No, this is the thing he goes to. He has fun with his job, so I mean, unless he had scheduling conflicts, there was no way he was going to say no.
Yeah.
I feel like if he had said no, they just would have offered him more money, and then he would eventually say yes. Like,
I don't think Mark Hamill is hurt for any money though.
Oh.
Now they went in. They showed a lot of this, where they showed this other actor who's doing the physical stuff in like the hallway scenes, the battle scenes, and all of these things, which he's covered. His face is covered completely. You don't see because of the hood. His name is Max Lloyd Jones. He had a very similar body type to Luke's in Return of the Jedi. You're Max Lloyd Jones, okay?
Okay.
You find out that you've got a role of some sort, in The Mandalorian, which is, that's got to be
awesome.
Pretty cool as an actor, right? And then they pull you aside and they explain to you that you're going to be the body double for Luke freaking Skywalker. What do you say? What's the first word that comes out of your mouth?
You sure?
I need to go to my changing room real quick. Give me a sec.
Are you sure you don't have the wrong person?
Gosh, that would be like a fan's dream come true like that. That's insane.
Yeah, it's cool. Now, I think it always had to be Luke Skywalker. I don't think that you could have brought in Plo Koon. I don't think you could have brought in Ezra. Those types of things would have been fine. And maybe because we're on this side of it, it would have felt like a letdown now. But I just think that at this point, if you're going to bring, and this is what Dave Filoni said at one point in this, I think he said where there's only one Jedi that you could entrust Grogu to.
The only one
in the storyline.
Species, and Mark Hamill also said that. So.
And he's the only one that's ever interacted with that species that in live
Ezra
action.
messed with him a little bit.
Yeah.
In the temple.
But yeah, I think it's cool. Now, there was this moment where they talked about John Williams' score. So that's the only time. I don't know if you noticed this, Sam. You're a big soundtracks and audio score guy. You love those things. Did you know that this is the only time any John Williams themes have been used in The Mandalorian were in those scenes with Luke Skywalker?
I did not know that. That's interesting. So, like, the Force theme and stuff hadn't been used at all?
Never.
Really?
At all. Ludwig Göransson never used any of those themes. They saved it for this moment.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I did notice how, like, the soundtrack is unlike anything we've ever heard in Star Wars yet. It still works, but I didn't know that was the only Star Wars, like, original Star Wars thing in the show.
Yeah, it was cool. They talked a lot about the technology, obviously de-aging him. In reality, there was like 15 minutes where they're going through all the technology stuff and they're talking about deep fake, like they were going to use deep fake and they're showing deep fake stuff.
We tried really hard.
And then they're like, and then we just decided it wasn't working for us. So we went with the de-aging technology that we used on Ant-Man and Wasp and the MCU and stuff like that. They just, honestly, they couldn't make deep fake work. Now, since then, Lucasfilm has hired the YouTuber Shamuk, who is the one that actually took those scenes from The Mandalorian and made a deepfake version of them with Mark Hamill's face that looks so much better.
Okay, but you've got to account for the fact that he was working off an already de-aged Luke.
Well, they could have done that, though. I mean, how hard could it have been for them to take it that next level?
They were like...
Okay, fair enough. I see where you're coming from.
Because they locked a guy in a room to do this deepfake stuff. And he was still able to do, I mean, we saw tests with it and it just didn't look the same as this guy who did it on his computer. I mean, it shows, and it's not like this guy had a lot of time. I mean, they gave that guy
in his free time. It was a little pet project.
It was a project. That guy was getting paid for it. So,
all right. Why do you hire a YouTuber who's really good at deep faking Luke Skywalker?
Well, they've got to deep fake Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Or deep fake anything, really. He's shown that he has proficiency in the skill. And I really appreciate Lucasfilm being big enough to, be like, okay, we could have done better. This guy knows how to do it. Let's bring him on. But yeah, that just shows that they're not done with this character.
Yeah. In the end, like I said, this is a Christmas gift last year to kind of what I would call the OTOGs, right? The original trilogy, original gangsters, Luke Skywalker, Star Wars fans. I loved some of those last comments. You have Favreau talking about R2-D2 coming in, Luke Skywalker being on set, all of this, and there's this moment where Jon Favreau, right? One of the most celebrated directors of our era. Now, MCU, Lion King, all of these amazing things that he's done, Jungle Book, all of these things that he's done. He goes in there and he says, even when you get used to make his quote, even when you get used to making this stuff, these are moments that are so surreal. Like you just can't believe that you're having them on that. And then you have Hamill talking about Favreau sending him over videos of people that were reacting to the scene that day. And Hamill noted that it was making grown men cry and how much that impacted him to be able to see that all happening with that. Why do you think this moment was so important at this time for Star Wars fans?
There have been a lot of controversy over the sequel trilogy and stuff, and some people liked it, some people loved it, and it was causing a lot of division and stuff. So having a scene where you bring back, the show was already like resonating really well with all fans, but then you bring a scene in where you bring back the biggest character in Star Wars, arguably, and it's going to, amidst all of the other drama, it's really going to hit home just because some people weren't satisfied or some people really loved it, but Luke was dead in that episode and stuff. So it was just a really like critical moment, I think.
Yeah.
The Luke Skywalker of The Last Jedi was the most controversial part of the sequel trilogy. Would you agree?
Yes.
With me on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's why they came in and let that happen here with this? It was not because they have a problem with that, but because that would be something that would allow those fans, not the fringe fans. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the ones that, genuinely are good people that are good Star Wars fans, but just have a problem with that Luke Skywalker. They just don't get it. It's not what they expected. And they always wanted to see like this version of Luke Skywalker. Do you think that they did that as a way to say you're welcome in this fandom still?
I don't think
in the Disney era.
I think that it was just to show that they still care about the people that grew up on the original trilogy. They haven't moved on.
And they still care about the character.
Exactly. And I think that it was just a way to give some nostalgia to the fans, which is what it did ultimately. So
Dave Filoni said fundamentally Star Wars should deliver a good feeling and uplifting feeling. And to me, I don't think that's like a knock on Rian Johnson and his movie. I just think that it gives us some insight into where Dave Filoni is with the way that this series needed to end, the season needed to end.
It's for kids. It's a kids show. It needs to be fun.
Yeah. And then Jon Favreau was talking about this. He said that George Lucas, through Star Wars, made something that leaves room for all of the archetypes of every age. So it seems very kind of like they are wrapping their arms around all of fandom and saying, you guys, you're still welcome in this. And if you didn't like the sequel trilogy, there's going to be stuff for you here in this. And it's the reality. The sequel trilogy is controversial still. I think it'll change. I think 20 years from now, people are going to
love it, like the prequels.
The prequels with that. Takeaways from what you've heard about the show, Sam?
I mean, it seems like they really care about Star Wars and they care about the fans and they want to do the characters justice and they want to give the fans what the fans want. And so it's encouraging.
Yeah. BB Nate, what were your takeaways?
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was really cool to hear all the things with the technology and how it impacted and the ideas of how they think Star Wars is. I mean, Dave Filoni just kept talking about what he thinks Star Wars is for, and it's what we think Star Wars is for. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think in all reality, this is probably the last time that we're going to see Mark Hamill play Luke Skywalker in live action. But that's kind of what makes The Mandalorian so special. It's a passing of the baton from George Lucas to geniuses like Filoni and Favreau and these actors, or not these actors, these directors like Deborah Chow and Taika Waititi and all of them. Rick, I can't even pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try with it. But they love the galaxy far, far away as much as anybody. And I think you see that in these Disney Gallery The Mandalorian specials. You see that they love Star Wars with it. And I think we should all take just a few minutes sometime, when you're thinking about Star Wars, to think about how fortunate we are to still get these amazing stories. Yeah. There was 2 major periods in my life where I thought I'd never get Star Wars again. And we're getting more Star Wars now than ever before, and we should be super excited about that. So, Sam, what are you going to talk about?
Yeah, well, episode 3 of What If showed us how a very small change can bring about a very large result. Nothing for the pun?
I got it. I was just
whatever. Yeah. The Avengers ended before they even began. Loki fulfilled his glorious purpose, and the 2 captains are going to have to team up.
Yep, and that's coming up after these ads specifically chosen by the crazy person who decided to blow up an Avenger from the inside out. This is Tatooine Sons.
Hey, y'all.
What's up?
Yeah.
Why didn't you yell in my ear? Okay.
Well, hey, so you guys talking to the listeners, that not the people here in
so we can take a break.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yeah. So you guys are always just so supportive of this show and are so kind to us. But another way that you can support us is by giving us reviews on podchaser.com/Tatooine Sons, or looking up Tatooine Sons on Podchaser. And you can leave a review for the show itself and each individual episode. And giving us reviews allows us to get engagement up, or if people see the reviews and they see this glowing review, then that might convince them to actually listen to the show. So, and if you give us a review, we will make a small donation to one child in your honor. So it's just a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
Your coming to us is as the footsteps of doom.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
Again,
Honestly,
I know.
Yeah, come on, y'all. I took it better than I thought I would, actually. I mean, they really didn't waste any time getting this episode started.
No.
Though. Like, so, we see Natasha giving him that antidote that was supposed to help him in Iron Man 2, but it ended up killing him. You seemed pretty shocked there, Dad.
I had no clue that was coming.
What were your thoughts when that happened?
That everything is upside down now. I mean, the MCU, all the way from phase 1 through phase 4, is built off of Tony Stark. He's the one that saves the entire universe at the end of Endgame, with that. None of that happens now. And so it was kind of like, oh my goodness, where do we go from here? Because everything is different, with it.
Nate, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just, it started with that, and it's like, okay, this kind of sets the tone of
all right, it's on.
Yeah, like, okay, we're going.
I mean, it really didn't stop from there. I mean, the next scene was, is in New Mexico, right? And there's Thor's hammer, which I didn't realize that all of these moments were kind of happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Or near the same time.
Yeah, they're calling that, I've heard some other shows call that like Nick Fury's biggest week or whatever.
Yeah, because he just hops from one thing to another.
Because apparently this has been well known for a while that I'd never heard about.
I didn't realize this either.
That Iron Man 2, Hulk, and Thor are all happening basically simultaneously.
Wow. That's crazy. Like it
kind of makes me want to go back and watch all three of those again. But
I agree, yeah. But we get back to New Mexico and Thor's breaking into the compound and Coulson's like, man, this dude's got great hair. But he's going to get the
Did you notice they did the bleached eyebrow? You guys know the big controversy in the original Thor movie with Chris Hemsworth eyebrows, right? They bleached his eyebrows to match the rest of his hair, and it looks ridiculous if you notice it. And so they did that in the animated version just to make it match, and everybody's kind of making fun of it.
I mean, kudos to like keeping things consistent.
Yeah, in a show that's completely about changing everything, they keep that right. Anyway,
but he's going to reach for the hammer, and then Hawkeye slips, air quotes here, and kills him. I don't know about you guys, but I thought Asgardians were a little bit tougher than getting killed by one arrow.
Well, he was stripped of his mantle, so I don't think he had any powers.
But he went through those guards pretty
he has
easy.
Training.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, he knows how to fight.
Yeah.
But I think that you're making a good point, Nate, that I hadn't really considered, and that is he is stripped of all of his superpower godlike status, this demigod status.
He's immortal, basically.
He's immortal. He's a super big, strong, scary, can kick everybody's butt. Mortal
with glorious hair,
and bleached
smells
eyebrows,
like lavender,
all of the above. But at the same time, when Hawkeye shoots you through with a
arrow right to the heart,
an arrow through your heart, it's going to take care of you.
All right, fair enough. And then Hawkeye's sitting there and in containment, right? And the next thing we know is he's dead. Like, were you going to say something there, Dad?
Well, the whole scene kind of was weird to see the parallels. We're seeing I don't know if you're going to plan on talking about this in a minute, but you've got in the Iron Man 2 sequences, they're the same, but they're different. You know, we've seen that in some of the other stuff with What If.
Right.
You've got the same thing happening here, but instead of Coulson being the one talking to Hawkeye, it's Fury who's now come because Iron Man's
dealing with Iron Man.
Exactly. And they're dealing with it, but even the lines are similar. The dialogue is similar and all of that.
Yeah.
And you're going to see the same thing in the Hulk, which blows my mind that they brought that in there. But I just thought that it's super fun to watch. It's kind of one of those, of all of the What If episodes so far, this is one that I kind of want to go back and watch again.
The episode or the movies that it was referencing?
Well, I kind of want to do both, but I don't have time. So anyway, yeah. So
yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. It did a great job at keeping things familiar enough and like helping us understand where we are in the story, but then changing things too, so it's fresh. And like you said, next, you know, Natasha is going to find Betty to figure out what the heck killed Tony, because it wasn't, you know, the syringe was different. And then we see Hulk pop out, which it was Mark Ruffalo Hulk. But it was Mark Ruffalo Hulk, though, but in a scene directly from I don't remember who plays it in the first movie.
Ed Norton.
Ed Norton. So they kind of like went back and retconned it a little bit. What were your
I think they were
thoughts
wanting
when
to
you
do
saw
that before Shang-Chi came out. I think they're wanting to clear up some things along with that.
Oh, because of Abomination?
Yeah, I think
that's a good point.
They wanted to get this episode out there.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point, Nate. What were your thoughts, like, since they were bringing Mark Ruffalo in for that?
Well, let's just go on record and say it's been, what year did the original Avengers come out?
Ooh, 2012? Yeah.
2012. So it's been almost 10 years since I've seen the Hulk movie, because I saw that at the marathon.
Oh yeah,
that we saw, and I haven't seen it since. And I don't know if it's even available anywhere. So
it's kind of that
hidden thing. And so they're bringing it in. It was bizarre to see Mark Ruffalo's version of Hulk as part of that, but you know, what do? You can't bring in Ed Norton. You can't
That's
have
true.
him voice it over, because that would be confusing. So it was cool.
I think it was a neat reference for us fans who've seen that movie, because that's one of the most hidden of the Marvel movies. Like, you got to really be going out of your way to want to watch that movie. But it was neat to see. And then he died in a very
I was wondering, I'm like,
interesting
how did this
way.
get TV-14? And then they showed that. I'm like, got it.
That'll do it.
Yep.
What were y'all's thoughts when you saw Hulk pop like a zit?
I was about to say, he popped like a zit. Didn't expect it. When he started to blow up, I'm like, they're not going to go there. They can't go there.
Surely.
No, surely it's going to be like off screen or something. No, they showed it twice.
I kept wondering how it's possible to kill Hulk, and I guess that's it.
You enlarge his heart.
You just wow. They could have made that a lot more gory.
Like, surprisingly, he's green all the way through. Where's the blood? I'm pretty sure I've seen him bleed before, and it's red. So
continuity error. Come on.
But that was a shocking scene, I think.
It was.
But, I mean, it was interesting. It showed that Hulk
it was an explosive revelation. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyway.
I'm here all week. Try the roast beef.
I mean, it was showing that, like, the Avengers are not so infallible or whatever. That's not the word, but you know what I mean. And then the next thing we see, invincible. The next thing we see is Loki show up. With this army of Asgardians and Thor's buddies. I don't remember their names. I know Sif was in there,
and then the other ones.
Yeah,
I don't remember their names.
Sif and the gang.
Sif and the gang. But like, they showed up to like avenge his brother's death and stuff. And Loki brought, I don't remember what that thing's called, but it's from the
Can we
first
stop
one.
and think about where the Thor movie is in this time, in this moment? Loki has already betrayed Odin and Thor at this point in the Thor movie.
He took reign. Thor wasn't there to stop Loki from killing Odin all the way. So Loki now rules Asgard.
I don't remember the first Thor movie at all.
Well, we just watched
good.
it a couple weeks ago.
That does it.
Yeah.
But that movie, the cinematography, it still gets
okay. Anyway,
but yeah.
So there's nothing stopping Loki from taking over.
So he's basically the
that
ruler
answers one
over.
of the questions I had later. I was like, how the heck was he able to convince the Asgardians to take over Midgard in this case? And that's because he's the leader now. So, okay. Well,
did you get the Middle Earth reference?
Yeah.
In this one? Where they talk about, they all show up, and I think, was it
yeah, it was Coulson.
Coulson. He was like, they look like they're from Middle Earth. Or
That's funny. Coulson was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're like, Nick Fury was like, are they from around here? He's like, maybe Middle Earth. So,
yeah, no, you're right. Coulson it was fun to have, what's his name? I can't remember what is it. Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg, yeah, that's it.
Playing him, in this again. It was great. I think he's one of the best characters in all of the MCU, and I feel like they
did him a disservice
with the way that they handled the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's sort of been relegated to its own timeline. Basically, it's variants. It's what it feels like. I'm excited to see Clark Gregg. I hope that we can get more Clark Gregg in there in a mainstream, even in an acting role in something.
For sure. So, Loki and Nick team up, though. Although, I'll be honest, by the time we got to the end scene, I really forgot that they were, trying to work together and stuff. Oh, wait, that's later, isn't it?
What?
Don't they team up later? Well, no.
This is it. They form an alliance.
Were y'all surprised at how easily Loki was able to be reasoned with?
No.
Well, I think that Loki was playing Nick Fury.
Okay.
There was an enemy that needed to get dealt with. We deal with it, and then he's just taking over the Earth. So.
Yeah. Once you deal with that enemy, then all of your enemies are out of the way. I mean, because the guy who can kill Thor can kill Loki. So when you get him out of the way, then you can take everybody else.
That's a good point. So then, Natasha gives Nick a dying revelation or whatever, right? And honestly, I didn't think Natasha was going to die this episode. She seemed like the one Avenger that was going to maybe make it, but then she was dead too. And you thought for a second that it was Ghost, right?
No, I never thought it was Ghost.
I did.
He did.
Because it makes sense.
No, because they were invisible and stuff. Yeah, I was confused too.
No, I just knew when she started saying it's all about hope, then that was bringing Hope Van Dyne in.
Yeah,
now,
exactly. That's why I thought it was Ghost.
But this is really interesting, guys. I don't know if you guys remember this or realize this, but in the original Marvel comics and stuff like that, Hope is one of the original Avengers. With this. And so her being sort of an Avenger, she's working with S.H.I.E.L.D. She seems to be Nick Fury's right hand before Black Widow, before Natasha was recruited. All of that is really a throwback to the original comic book versions of the Avengers, because she's one of the originals.
Yeah. I mean, what happened in this, the big what if of this episode was, what if Hope had joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and was actually was in place of Natasha when they were escorting that nuclear reactor or nuclear engineer when they got attacked by the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. So does that mean that the Winter Soldier, that Bucky is the one that kills Hope? Is that what we
that's what happened in this.
That's just nuts, man.
All because it was Hope and not Natasha. All of what happened in this episode changed, right? And we learned that the one in charge of all this was actually a deranged Hank Pym.
Yeah.
He went like nuts because he didn't have his wife at this point, and his daughter was about the only thing holding him, keeping him sane. Now she's gone, and the only person he can blame is Nick at this point, right? What were y'all's thoughts when there was that revelation that Hank was behind it all?
I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's cool seeing this guy who is a good guy in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and Wasp turn into a completely deranged lunatic. And so it was
sporting the yellow jacket.
Yeah. Which he does that in the comics.
Yeah, he goes insane in the comics too.
And he becomes Yellow Jacket in the comics. So this kind of was a nod to Marvel comic book fans in a lot of ways. They're kind of acknowledging some of those storylines in this. It was a lot of fun. I think that it was cool to hear Michael Douglas playing it.
It was.
With that. It was I don't know. I thought it was the best episode of What If so far.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. I agreed with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good, but I had no.
I'm just gonna wait for it's the best episode of What If till next week.
Oh, next week's a Doctor Strange.
This episode, it was funny because last week I was all like, man, all of these What Ifs have been showing a better timeline than the original, and then this one comes along, and this one felt much more similar to a classic What If story. One tiny thing changed. It's not Carter becoming Captain America. That's a big deal. One little thing in the background changed, and we see all these negative repercussions happening. What were y'all's thoughts? Is that part of the reason why you think it might be the best one so far, or is it the comic references that you like so much, Dad?
Oh, I think it was the best one because it was the most radically different.
Yeah.
With that.
I mean, last week you had Thanos being a good guy. That's pretty radical.
You're right.
Too.
Okay, but I mean, as far as watching the original MCU Phase 1 films, you're getting nods to 3 of those films. You're getting a nod to a Phase 2 film with the Winter Soldier and the conversations with Natasha and that type of situation.
Phase 3 with Ant-Man.
You're getting Phase 3 with Ant-Man.
Ant-Man and Wasp.
All of those are being shown to have been impacted by this one What If moment with that. And I think that kind of ties into some of the Loki stuff and just trying to understand how things can go so different. And, can we have a dad moment for just a second?
Sure.
We never know what those little choices that we make, how they can impact so much more of our lives, guys. You think it's a little thing. It's a little compromise. It's a little choice. It's not a big deal, but it can lead down a path to a lot of other things. So, you good?
My phone's going off.
No big deal?
I thought it was always on silent.
Yeah, okay, no big deal. But I think that's a great lesson for you guys and for all of us, really, to think about is small little choices in the past. And really the choice wasn't the moment with the nuclear scientist. It was the relationship between Hank and Hope and Hope's decision to go join S.H.I.E.L.D. that set this all in motion with it. And it's an important lesson. What do you think about the whole thing?
Oh, I thought it was a fantastic episode. I'm excited to see where they're going. I think it's going to play in. We got kind of a plot for the last episode in this season. I don't know. Did I tell you what it is, Dad? I told Sammy.
I don't think so.
Basically, there's a Vision who merged with Ultron's conscious and became Infinite Ultron. And so the newly formed Guardians of the Multiverse have to take him down. So I think they're pulling characters from each one of these episodes or things
to make an Avengers group.
Yep, the Guardians of the Multiverse.
Wow.
I bet you the Watcher is going to be like, crap, I actually have to
I would love to see the Watcher have more of a role versus a narrator at the beginning.
Well, I mean,
and just standing there.
Y'all have the shirts. He's got a character model. He's going to have to make a real appearance.
A couple times in this episode, just standing there watching.
Yeah, you see this silhouette of him.
They're bringing him in more and more.
They are.
Showing that he's right now, he's watching. And he's
I
there,
felt like
but he might eventually
since this was not a better timeline, I felt like he was feeling like he might need to step in.
Wow, this will be interesting to see.
So. Yeah. Well, this week's episode was a little bit more depressing than the previous two, but it was still no less fun. So far, the series has been very entertaining and is yet another great addition to the MCU TV show lineup. Make sure you watch next week to see what's in store. But Nate, what's going on in movies?
Not much. It's been pretty boring. Not much has been going on.
Thanks, bud.
But what I'm going to be talking about, we're going to be reviewing Reminiscence. Sorry for the spoilers, Sammy.
It's
and
all right,
everybody
I'll
listening. I'm talking about a movie I really don't want to go to. And I actually think that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, yep. Let's move on. Oh, wait. There was a Spider-Man trailer.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
We should probably talk about that, too. And that's coming up after these ads specifically chosen so you don't say his name. Don't do it. Really, seriously, don't do it.
You can say it, you just can't say
don't
it
say
3 times
don't
in a row.
This is Tatooine Sons. All right, Sam, so name something that costs $1.30.
Tic Tacs.
Tic Tacs. Nathan, something that costs $1.30.
$1.30. I don't know. Like
130 pennies.
Exactly. Yes, 130 pennies.
I don't think you can get a bottle of Coke for $1.30 now.
No.
Can you?
No. Mm-mm.
Did you know that for $1.30 per day, you can actually change someone's life. That's what we do with One Child. So if you're listening to this and you bought, how much is the Radiant Black comic book thing? $8. All right. So like you're a quarter of the way towards changing a child's life if you spent the money on a comic book and use that for something like that. Now, I'm not saying don't spend money on comic books or Cokes or Tic Tacs. Do people really do Tic Tacs nowadays?
Yeah, Tic Tacs are cool.
But if you can figure out a way to save $1.30 a day and invest that in a child's life, it will provide food, education, medicine, social development, and the most important thing that you can give another person, and that is hope. And it's why we call you a child champion. So go ahead and check out the show notes and learn a little bit more about One Child.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
When you guys thought about watching the leaked version of the trailer?
No.
Half a second, yeah.
No, didn't even
But then I saw a screenshot of it, and I'm like, wow, the quality's horrible. I'll just wait.
It was definitely worth watching on a big TV and that kind of thing. We need to watch it a few more times. Pastor Stewart.
I've watched it 6 times already.
Have you?
Wow.
Right? So Pastor Stewart, I don't know if I told you this, Sam, but Stewart on Wednesday night, I was at church.
Okay.
And he comes up to me and like the first words out of his mouth were like, dude, Spider-Man. And then he was like, we watched it 8 times last night. We're going through it frame by frame. And he can't wait to come over tomorrow night for dinner and talk Spider-Man trailers.
That's
so
funny.
It's going to be a lot.
My first, the day after when I went to school, I was sitting in linear algebra and someone's like, y'all see the Spider-Man trailer?
That's cool.
So, sorry for listeners, and Sammy, you're gonna get spoiled on Reminiscence. I apologize, but we do have to watch at some point, maybe on HBO Max, or go to the theater again.
Yeah.
So should I just leave the room for a minute?
No. I'm
we
curious.
gotta have you here. But Dad, your off the cuff thoughts about Reminiscence.
It felt like a futuristic 1930s detective movie.
Exactly.
That's an oxymoron.
It felt like a 1930s detective film
noir
movie, but set in the future.
Oh, okay.
And it was actually a lot of fun.
So kind of like Blade Runner-ish?
It's gotten a lot of comparisons to Blade Runner, but, and I know that our listeners are probably going to freak out about this, I've never seen Blade Runner.
Yeah, we've never seen
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah, but, okay, I really enjoyed it. I thought everything about it was really cool. I loved how it wasn't a big world-saving plot. It was just a dude wondering about his girlfriend the whole movie. And then it started to kind of wind into this bigger plot that happened with just like him going insane and everything. And I loved it. And like the first 15 minutes was him in Reminiscence. Like, I didn't expect that. It was just a lot of cool things that happened.
Him in Reminiscence?
You remember that? Like, the first 15 minutes of the movie was him like in the past.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I love that.
I thought that you bring up a really good point that I hadn't actually considered with it. This is a apocalyptic scenario in this movie. The world is like flooded. The ice caps have it's a terrifying, world ending type scenario. And that's not the plot of the movie.
No,
it's just the setting.
It's just the setting. They don't ever address it. They don't ever talk about why it happened. They don't ever talk about what's going to happen as a result of it. And there's
just there.
And this isn't about trying to fix it.
No,
that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I loved it. And seeing that, you would think, oh, that's the plot of this movie, but it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think this movie is definitely worth a rewatch just to be able to understand it a little bit better. It wasn't as confusing as Tenet or Inception.
No, it wasn't
or
confusing.
Prestige. No, and I really enjoyed it. I think the pacing was good. I didn't have any problems with getting like bored or uninterested in what was going on. Everything was moving along well. The action was well placed. But the reviews are starting to get a little bit stranger.
Okay.
critics are down even more, down to the 30s.
Okay.
Lower 30s. And on audience for Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 40%. And we're kind of wondering why. And like even IMDb, it's at 5.9 stars.
So it's gone down there too.
So I was reading, and a lot of people are hating on it from the audience because it was too boring and too confusing. So I'm thinking we may have another Wonder Woman 84 on our hands because of the simultaneous HBO Max release. This isn't a movie that you get to watch on your TV the first time.
You can't be on your phone.
You cannot be on your phone, especially in this movie. Everything that was hinted at the beginning and the plot lines that were going, it's necessary to pay attention to this movie. And I'm not saying it was a movie that needed to be in the theater. Like, you don't need to go.
It's not a big, epic type movie that you have to see on the screen.
But you have to give it your attention.
Yeah, you have to give it your full attention. So, yeah, I mean, and all the good reviews are saying how they either saw it in the theater or were like super involved in it. And so I think that was like the main cause of it.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I'm willing to watch it again.
You haven't spoiled me on anything.
I've been trying. So we can move along and we can watch it.
I want to watch it.
Yeah. So movies we may or may not see this weekend. There's actually only one movie coming out this weekend, but we'll talk a lot about it.
Don't say his name.
Candyman.
Don't say it again.
It was
please don't say it a third time.
Okay, well, it was a very popular horror series that actually spawned in the 1990s, kind of a cult following that was really big. The first movie, huge.
Oh, it was a whole series of movies.
Yeah, it was like I think 3 movies.
Okay.
The first movie was praised for how kind of just twisty it was, and kind of how it was like an urban legend, and it was just like a single person following it and everything. And I heard that it was really good. But the new movie is kind of a sequel, kind of a reboot, kind of maybe anything. It's hard. Like they don't say it's a sequel, but they say it's a reboot, and it's weird. Apparently it ties to the original one too, but it's a whole new thing. I don't get it, but
it's multiverse.
Yeah,
Omniverse. It's part of the Omniverse.
The CCU, the Candyman Cinematic Universe. But Candyman sits at a nice high 86% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes right now. One of them is the Candyman bolsters an already robust mythos with formidable possibility, even though it feels like a film hell-bent on stuffing all its ideas in one place, potentially to offset an inability to generate another sequel. That's from Ion Cinema. It's kind of like it was good, mediocre review. This next one, it's easy to shock viewers with splatter, but the old gut and run gets awfully boring awfully fast. Far better is a slow creep, the horror that teases and then threatens. And that is from the New York Times.
Wow.
So which one is this? Is this gut and run or tease and
it's
scare?
Very gut and run. Like, I've heard it is horribly violent. One of the most violent movies that's come out in recent years.
Okay.
Ew.
So, and people are just, that's not what the movie was.
It's rated R and it should be.
Yeah, like the original movie wasn't that. It wasn't all for violence.
It was more really psychological.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's all the movie was. So that's another thing that's like people are not enjoying about it. Candyman sits at a nice 6.5 on IMDb right now. So that's it's kind of
average.
It's not great, but it's not.
It's a
terrible.
passing
And
grade.
so we're not seeing that this weekend, though, right?
No, we're not seeing it. This is a review from an audience member. This movie starts amazing, but begins to fall apart in the third act. Acting is amazing. The talents are perfect for the roles, but what really drags the movie down is 2 things: political correctness and the storyline. The storyline is very busy. Many things are happening at once. Viewers are bombarded with revelation after revelation, storylines that are all over the place in the third act, and you will need to pay close attention. Remember the original movie for things to make sense for anyone, even though this is kind of a reboot, which is what they said. Personally, when it comes to entertainment, I prefer to leave political opinions and current views out of it. The movie at some point relies heavily on race to deliver ideas and storylines, which I understand is a part of the original movie, but here it is taken to a whole new level. The original
just maybe somebody that's a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah,
to that
it's true, but I'm seeing that in a lot of reviews as well. Yeah, the original movie dealt with that, but it was in kind of a really offhand way. It wasn't the main thing. It wasn't the thing that drove the story.
I mean, there are movies where that is the main plot, such as movies where it deals with like Malcolm X and stuff.
Yeah, Green
and
Book.
at that point, a Green Book. At that point, go for it.
Yeah.
if it needs to be a subplot, leave it as a subplot.
Well,
you
again,
know?
we haven't seen the original movie, so we don't
That's
know whether
true.
or
We
not
can't
that was
speak
a
into
part
as well.
of that storyline in the
That's
past.
true.
No,
so.
but yeah, so we're not going to see this movie. I think that's kind of just gathered.
No.
I have no desire to see this movie.
Okay.
Nope.
Cool.
But the next,
can we talk about something else?
yeah. So I think that's about it for my segment.
No.
What
no,
else
no,
is-
no, no,
is there
no,
something
no,
else
no,
coming
no,
out?
no, doc.
So Matrix got a title.
Yeah.
Matrix Resurrection.
I want to talk Spider-Man. Let's go.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
Let's
what
go.
are your thoughts about the trailer? What did you think? Well, like, what was the big things that stood out to you?
I mean, I'm going to be really blunt here. I loved it, but I feel like it came out a few months too late. The hype was way too high. They should have just released it. So,
Well, I mean, it kind of has broken all trailer records of all time. So,
okay.
the hype lived up.
I stand corrected.
Well, I think that has to do with a couple things. Now, when I first watched it, there wasn't anything for me that was revolutionary information.
No,
Like,
I mean, the Doc Ock thing, we knew about that months ago.
I knew Green Goblin was.
I don't know how you knew. Every video I've seen is like, that's a big revelation.
Yeah, I
that
hadn't
wasn't
heard
even
of the Green
rumored.
Goblin thing.
That's not true.
That's
I
what
had
I
never
saw.
heard of it. I've heard of the Doc Ock and Electro, but that's it.
I
have heard that Willem Dafoe was coming back to play Green Goblin in this. With
You
it.
dreamt it.
No, I didn't. I've read it. You know, it wasn't a surprise
Reddit?
when the pumpkin bomb showed up. It definitely wasn't a surprise when Alfred Molina showed up because he went out and did a whole interview talking about having been in this and got in trouble
Worst
for
kept
it.
secret.
Alfred Molina, Doc Ock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With it, I think that the first viewing was kind of like, okay, that's cool. This is where we're going. I was watching it again a couple of times. The Doctor Strange thing has got me a little bit puzzled.
Yeah.
Same.
And there's a lot more multiverse stuff happening that I didn't catch on the first viewing with it. And so I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through the confirmed or potential cameos that were shown in this trailer. Of course, we had Doc Ock. We finally saw him. We saw
That
him
was cool.
with his tentacles red, which means that the tentacles are controlling him, which means that he's taking place right after he dies in Spider-Man 2, which we will have to watch sometime. We're rewatching all of the Spider-Man movies, of course. So we'll have to see that. And even Alfred Molina said that it's going to take place. He's like right after he drowns in the river. So he's like taken out of that moment. Green Goblin was of course confirmed. Everybody's a little confused about that one, how that's going to work out, but everybody's
Green Goblin,
it's
who
excited.
cares?
It's Willem Dafoe, Green Goblin. Everybody's excited.
Like, why would you complain about that?
Electro, maybe.
The lighting was yellow.
But it's yellow in the comics.
It is.
yellow in the
I'm
comics.
hoping they kind of retcon from Spider-Man 2.
Everybody's wanting him to see him in the yellow and green outfit, like the classy.
But not like straight from the comics with the big
No,
star.
but I just don't want to see.
I want
him.
the big star. I want a comic accurate suit. Give me Vision
please
on
just-
Halloween in WandaVision.
Yes, do that.
Level suit.
But
No,
please
maybe
don't
not.
give me a comb over. We maybe saw Sandman from the original.
Yeah.
There was one
I
moment.
did see sand.
Yeah, exactly. You saw sand, but it was one moment that stood out. There was lightning from the yellow lightning was shot directly at Spider-Man, and then a wall of sand shot up. So we're thinking that since of what happened at the end of Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, wasn't Spider-Man good or Sandman good?
Sandman turned good. So we're thinking he's protecting the Peter Parker in this universe.
Interesting.
Lizard, maybe there was a dark figure who attacked Peter in like a frame, and so everybody's like, "Oh, it's Lizard." But it looks like it. If you look, there's a little bit of like a tail thing that's coming off, so it would make sense
What if it's
that
Scorpion?
It might be Scorpion as well. But I mean, they're dealing with multiverse.
Fair enough.
Is Lizard. Mysterio might show up at some point.
Well, I mean,
It's kind of-
Mysterio's a part of this movie either way.
he is, yeah. So, J. Jonah Jameson. Was Matt Murdock is.
It's speculated.
It's speculated. We saw that dude in the white shirt slam down those files. Somebody compared that to a scene where he slammed down files in Daredevil, and they're like, it works.
It's the same guy.
And somebody compared Charlie Cox's hairiness of his arm to the hairiness of the arm in the trailer, and they're like, it's the exact same. Like,
And I said, oh, it's not like there's an entire story in the Bible.
Let's not
where
talk
somebody was able
about
to
body
fake
hair
that.
right now. That's a whole nother conversation for a different show.
this one is practically confirmed. Mephisto. We saw
definitely.
the sign with the devil in disguise. That
Peter is Mephisto this whole time.
You guys joke, but I'm telling you, no, Doctor Strange didn't set right with me, and I think it could be Mephisto. I'm not even joking. I'm like, either he's a
dead set
he's
on
a
this.
variant from What If that's going to be carried over here, or he's Mephisto. Something's not right.
Okay. All right.
I get why you say that, because one thing's showing up that's really curious. Strange is wearing the Eye of Agamotto. It was destroyed by Thanos. Why does he have it?
Was it destroyed? No, everything was put back,
no.
remember?
He crushed it. Thanos crushed it literally with his hand. It's gone.
Oh,
But when the
they
time
showed the scene
Okay, hold
in
on.
the breakdown video.
But doesn't all of that change when they go back? And
Yeah, everything's reverted, Nate. Thanos never happened.
No.
Well,
Actually,
Thanos
that's
never
not true, because
happened.
Endgame is real.
Yeah, but the stone's back. They can't destroy the stones.
I know they can't destroy
But
the
he
stones.
destroyed the...
Oh,
But
well,
he
he can just
destroyed
use magic
that.
to make a new one.
I know, but we're wondering if he has the Eye of Agamotto, what that's going to play into, because of how it works with the situation that's going on right now.
I have a theory as to... I think your big question here, Dad, is why is Strange doing what he's doing?
Why is Strange so
feels
strange?
off. Now, I've heard some people say that this is classic Doctor Strange from the comics.
It is.
And that
He's
could be true.
Arrogant.
Steven is weird.
He tests his limits. He tests things all the time, and that's classic. But in the MCU,
He was very
this felt
devoted.
off.
I think I have a theory. Endgame, this is like the first time we've seen him since Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Is that a reasonable...
Yeah.
Okay.
Until What If?
He's, for some reason, in a snow thing. It was something weird's going on with that.
Yeah.
I think he is having to deal with the stuff from Endgame. He's kind of the cause of Tony's death. And he's having to deal with that. Maybe he's having some sort of like, not necessarily PTSD, but something's going on in his head right now. He's not right. So that's why he's changed the whole place to snow for some reason. And he's...
No, that comes down to the fact that nobody was living in the Sanctum Sanctorum. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Did I get that right? No one was living
And there
in
was a
that for the
hole in
entire
the roof.
5 years after.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It's abandoned.
Okay,
basically.
but I think he's going through like these mental symptoms, and he's just like, Peter was basically Tony's kid, so he's like, sure, I'll do whatever you need to do.
I'm not sure what's going on. We see 2 points when Doctor Strange is fighting Spider-Man.
Wait, what?
One point when he puts Spider-Man in the mirror dimension, and we see him falling through those holes.
They were.
We can
I thought he was saving.
We can
them.
see Doctor Strange chasing him.
Yeah,
instead.
I think he's trying to save him because he's falling in a.
Okay, well then how do you
multiverse hole.
explain him punching Spider-Man out into the astral version?
Because that's how you get people into the astral plane. It happened in Endgame with Hulk.
Yeah, but that was to stop
it happened in the original Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
with Doctor Strange.
it's basically a way for them to get their attention.
But Spider-Man had a cube-looking thing, which people that read the comics and people that think of it is probably a way to trap people to multiverse or get them back to their original timelines. So people are thinking that Spider-Man is trying to get these villains back to their original timelines safely, but we're thinking that Doctor Strange, something's weird's going on and he's trying to keep them here. Or another one is eliminate them because he knows that a bigger threat in the multiverse is coming and he's getting these villains out of the way first.
There is a big speculation out there right now that Doctor Strange is the villain in this thing.
Which I wouldn't like, because I like Doctor Strange.
Well, there's like this dark Doctor Strange and What If.
Exactly. And Doctor Strange is going to be a big part of the last episode in What If in this season. So I'm wondering what's going on with that.
And they have said that that What If series will have major ramifications on the MCU.
Fair enough.
So that was a really awesome segment. I enjoyed talking about Spider-Man.
If you do say so yourself.
Yes, I think that it was the most fantastic segment out of this whole episode. But we finally got a Spider-Man trailer after waiting for so long, which I feel like we don't
get another one now?
Yeah,
Like,
do we get another one or do we just stay with
Yeah,
this?
they called this a teaser. So we're going to get another trailer.
We better, but it better mean like
what did we not get in this? We did not get
Andrew
Tobey
Garfield
Maguire or
or
Andrew
Tobey
Garfield.
Maguire.
Yep. We didn't get either of those two. The big trailer is where they reveal that those two are coming.
Or at least one of them. And if you confirm one, you confirm the other.
I think you have to show both. in the trailer. I think that you have to kind of go ahead and get the chess pieces on the board in the trailer so everybody knows what you're walking into with that. And then there's going to be some major revelations beyond that. You know, Tom Holland actually shared on his Instagram story.
Like, there's so much more.
You are not ready, is what he said. And I think that we are going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
with that.
so we'll just.
I'm so glad that a drunk Tom Holland, who was so angry that Disney and Sony couldn't work out a deal to make this movie. Literally, you guys know the story, right?
Yeah, I think so.
He was drunk. He got drunk and he called Bob Iger and chewed Bob Iger out. And then they got the deal done.
And he's still working for
And they got the deal done.
You go. All right. I'm surprised he wasn't fired.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see it when it goes December 17th, exclusively in movie theaters, thankfully.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, so Marvel is reportedly developing a werewolf Halloween special for Disney Plus.
Okay.
Interesting.
Didn't know there were any werewolf characters in Marvel, but
yeah, there's a werewolf. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it going to be tied in with Blade?
Probably.
It may. That could be interesting.
There is a rumor, an emphasis on rumor, that there will be a Bane series on HBO Max coming up soon.
Yeah, I searched out the sources for these rumors, and they're sources that have been notoriously bad about their rumors. So we'll wait until we get somebody that's a little bit more incredible.
If it's going to be announced, it's going to be announced at DC Fandom. We'll get the schedule, and if something like that's not there, I don't think it's going to happen.
You know, Thandie Newton, she's actually in Reminiscence. She's one of the major characters. She did a fantastic job.
All of them did good
in this movie. She's not very happy that Val was killed off in Solo.
I don't blame her. She's a cool character.
She did an interview and said that wasn't originally the plan, and she was not very happy about it. I'm just going to speculate irresponsibly for a second. With Crimson Reign comic book series coming,
Solo too,
and the rumors about something Solo related coming down the pike, I could see why Thandie Newton might start having interviews saying how she's upset that she isn't in Solo
good point.
anymore. Maybe that's what's going on here. All right. Well, thanks for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
Yeah, and if you had a good time listening, it would be really cool if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, please share it.
Please.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, smoke us signals, whatever.
Yeah. And speaking of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram,
well, you share it on those, is what I'm saying.
Right, but follow us on them while you're at it too. It's at Tatooine Sons. Also, we got a discussion group on Facebook, which is pretty cool. You can hang out with other fans. So be sure to do that to keep up with everything that's going on.
Yeah. And you can also check out TatooineSons.com if you want back episodes or anything like that. Don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And remember that if you drop us a review on Podchaser, we are going to make a donation in your honor to one child, and it's going to help a child living in extreme poverty. So next week, any movies coming out next week, BB Nate?
No.
Shang-Chi?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about Shang-Chi next week.
I guess.
Is that coming out next week?
Absolutely.
Dang.
Sam, what are you talking about next week?
What if episode 4?
It's going to be Doctor Strange related.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Oh. I'm pretty sure.
Doctor Strange fighting Dark Doctor Strange.
Nice.
I'm wondering if we're setting up something for No Way Home. I'm just going to say it. Maybe it's Dark Doctor Strange's Mephisto. And we are going to try to take some time. Maybe have to do it tomorrow because of Sam's amazing school schedule.
It's so great.
To do a breakdown or a viewing of Hidden Fortress and try to watch that so we can talk about the influences of Hidden Fortress on Star Wars in honor of Star Wars Visions coming out in just a few weeks.
Very cool. I've always kind of wanted to watch a good classic samurai film.
Yeah, Mom will end up going in the other room.
Are you okay
you think?
With subtitles, Dad?
For that one, sure.
Well, you don't speak fluent Japanese now?
I don't like, but I'm taking lessons.
You are?
No, I'm not. But if I...
Duolingo.
Anyway. All right. Anything else you guys would like to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.